Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to part 2 of the Vermont Castings Intrepid barn find and restoration project. So this video is going to be actually a lot of fun. I was noticing that when I went through all the parts that came with this, that a handle was missing. There's supposed to be a handle and it sits over in the leg, the front left leg of this thing. And it wasn't in any of the parts. So I jumped online to take a look at, if you could still get them, and you can. The original is ceramic, just like the one on the damper door back there. And they're like 50 bucks, which is not that bad, but I had a better idea. And my thought is, why buy something when you can make it? So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go down to the shop and we're gonna make a handle that is much nicer than the ones that came with it. So this is the original handles that came with the Vermont Casting Intrepid stove, and it's a ceramic. It's a very nice handle, and this one doesn't remove. This one's fixed on the damper position. Actually, I think they call this the bypass, but it moves a damper that sends air either to a catalyst or just straight out the back. So I call it a damper, but it's actually probably called a bypass handle. But this one's fixed, so you can't use it. So right here in the front left leg, there's a hole, and this is where the handle would have been stored when not in use. What this does is keep the handle cool, so when you want to go open the door, you can just simply remove the handle out of the leg, open your door, and or even the cooktop if you wanted, and not burn yourself. So what we're going to do is we are going to make one. I went ahead and already ordered the parts that we need, and we're going to go down the shop and turn a beautiful handle that'll be worthy of this stove. All right, so we're down here in the shop, and what I'm going to do is we need to make the missing handle you saw upstairs. So what I did was I got this piece right here, which is the part of the male piece that fits into the handle and sits inside the leg. And I went ahead and ordered the correct bolt, or I guess screw rather. And I got a brass one because I thought it would look really good. And what I'm going to use is a combination of flame maple, because the original ones were ceramic white. So I'm going to make most of it out of this flame or tiger striped maple, which will look really good. And then I'm going to put a design in it using this black walnut. And I'm just going to do a simple cross because I actually think that's really nice. I do that design when I turn pins on the lathe. But what we're going to do is we have to go ahead and set this up, and we're going to use this and turn it on the lathe and make a handle that looks much better than the original. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is I've marked where we need to cut right here. That's going to accept this piece right here, and we need to take it over to the table saw and cut it. All right, so now we have these two pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a very thin piece of walnut, whatever I want to show inside here, and we're going to glue it between there. And then once we have that, we're going to turn the whole thing. We'll split it down the side, which is going to be a little tricky, and then we're going to glue another one in there. And it doesn't really matter if it's not, perfectly centered on the outsides or whatever, because we're going to find the center point when we put it on the lathe. So let's go ahead and cut this, figure out what we want to do, and cut a small decorative strip of walnut back on the table. All right, so here's our thin strip of black walnut that we've got, along with our two flame maples. And what we're going to do is just glue it up just like this. Now, this design would be really, really neat looking too, once it's all got finish on it and it's turned, in a nice spindle. But we're going to go a step further. Once we glue this up, we're going to come back and we're going to cut it again and do it again, and that'll give us a cross pattern all the way around, and it's going to look really good. got this out of the clamps, and even though this side is really, really pretty flat, I'm going to go ahead and run this through the joiner, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put it up against the fence. I'm going to split it this way, and we're going to put one more through that way. So running it through the joiner here, we've got a nice perfectly flat edge, and you can really start to see that the flame in the maple. So what we're going to do is, we could stop here and this would be really pretty, but I want to do the same pattern here. So let's go to the table saw and we'll split it again here and put this piece in and re-glue it, and then we'll be ready almost for the lathe. Alright, so here we are, and that's the result. If you have a decent table saw blade, it comes off as smooth as coming off of a joiner. So here we are. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this guy and we're going to sandwich him between these, so we end up having a cross look. So and then we'll square this all up before we get it on the lathe. So I had to readjust these clamps several times. What you want to make sure of is that this cross in the middle lines up. Like if you get it off a little bit, it still probably wouldn't be that big of a deal on a turning, because it would kind of make a gradual curve. It might even be a cool effect, but I try to make sure that that's really lined up. So we're going to get everything right in the center. So anyway, we'll let this dry, and then we'll clean it up a bit and get it on the lathe. Okay, so here we are out of the clamps, and as you can kind of see here, it's kind of in a little rough shape. I still have this one nice smooth side. So I'm going to use this side to go ahead and make this side parallel. You wouldn't have to do that. I could just stick it on the lathe like that, but I want to clean up this side, and then probably clean up the ends here so it'll mount in the lathe real well. And then we need to drill a hole through it to accept this 3-inch machine screw. So let's go ahead and clean up these sides, and then we'll take it over to the drill press. Okay, so here we are after pulling it off the drill press. We went in right here, and you can see that there's a thick side on this side, but what's important here is the cross. So we're right in the dead center of this cross, and if we go all the way through to the other side, you can see there's our thick side there, but the hole comes out almost dead center. You know, that drill press is a Delta Milwaukee from like the 40s, I think. So it does really good over you know, maybe a distance of 3 inches like this, but it's probably got a little slop in it. So I think that's excellent for that drill press. And again, it won't matter because we're putting it on a mandrel on the lathe. But before we put it on the lathe, what I want to do is, what I like to do, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and I'm going to knock these corners off just to get it started so there's less tear out. With figured maple like this flame maple, we want to try to get it, take as little of bites on the lathe as we can. Okay, so I brought this back over to the bench because I wanted to show you what I'm trying to sneak up on. So inside this this little piece of hardware here, there's like a little flat area that's recessed. And what we want is we want that to go in. And so the little shape right here is decorative. And so that's what we're working on. Let's just keep going on the lathe. I just wanted to pull this off and check because I'm basically sneaking up on this. Okay, so here is the finished product before finish. We still have to put it back on the lathe and put a really nice Aussie oil finish on it. But it turned out spectacular. So this is the way it works. You have this end here, and this goes down. This goes down into the end. You have a nice recess of the brass machine screw. It comes out, screws on like that, and you just tighten it. And there is our new and improved Vermont Castings Intrepid handle. So let's put some finish on it and take it upstairs and try it out. All right, I'm going to bring you in real close manually. I hope you can see how iridescent the grain is on that. So I think we're done. That's about 10 coats. All right, so here's our new handle, and it operates just like that. If you wanted to raise the cooktop, you can also certainly do that with it as well. But all in all, I would say that's a success. All right, so when we're not using it, it'll just sit in place like that. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to stay tuned for the next part in this series, and also have a German twin turbo car that has a coolant leak, so stay tuned for that. That's coming up. Anyway, until next time, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.